Okay.
Hello, everybody. I think we'll give people a couple of minutes here, Karen, to see if anyone comes on with us. While we do wait, what I will do is go ahead and introduce you. First off, Karen's been in our community now for a few months and very actively engaged in everything that gets posted. And so I just want to acknowledge you for that and thank you for your continuous engagement and always acknowledging myself. And so I have an opportunity to acknowledge you with the group, and excited to have you do this show with us. And the plan is that we will do this particular show with you once a month. And it's the Harmonious Parent Show. And I'm super excited about that because this is a really great topic. I mean, who doesn't want better relationships with their kids, right? So,
Right.
let me pull up some stuff. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but all right. So,
I could hear.
uh,
I can hear you.
okay, perfect. All right. So, everyone, let me introduce you to Karen Ryce. She is known as the miracle worker of education and parenting. And that name was given to her several years ago because she has mastered the power of respect. Therefore, her results with kids can seem miraculous. I have to say, in my own personal experience, first off, Karen is actually my parenting coach with myself and my daughter, who is 4. And I reached out to Karen because Bella, what I was experiencing with her was the way she was trying to get my attention was through some pretty abusive behavior, hitting me, kicking me, pinching me, biting me, you name it. Like she was just behaving that way. And I couldn't seem to find this connection where I could feel confident in doing my work from home, plus make sure that I'm spending the right amount of quality time with Bella. And so, out of my frustration and straight up, honestly, being pissed off because I was beating myself up for this, I'm a failure as a mom story, and reached out to Karen. And I have to say that I have had the most amazing, miraculous results because of this coaching with Karen. So,
I'm glad.
excuse me?
I'm so glad.
So, let me see here. Okay, I got our page back up here. All right. So let's get this party started. Welcome, Karen, and thank you so much for gracing us with such an awesome topic. I mean, who doesn't want a better relationship with kids and have respectful kids? So I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about tonight. And hopefully people will chime in, whether they're here tonight with us or they watch the replay and they ask questions. You can learn more about Karen and connect with her. She has her own group. What's that group called, Karen?
Rising Happy Kids Group.
I love that. And she's also the author of The One Rule, and of course of several other books. And tonight, I just welcome you and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so I'm going to pull this agenda up here. So, raising harmonious kids. That's what we're talking about tonight, and it's actually an introduction to the one rule. And I'm going to start it off with a question. You know, Karen gave me some questions to kind of help lead this conversation, but we really want it to just go with flow and have a conversation about, you know, the experience of raising children. But I think it's also not about just us parents, but it's also the people that are in our communities teaching and who are also with our children, child care providers, and the teachers and principals, and anybody that is around children, grandparents, you name it. I really believe to the heart of my soul that you will gain some amazing knowledge with what Karen's going to be sharing with us. So starting it off with, you said, you know, people say they want their children to be happy, to feel good, but that they also want them to be self-determined. What does that mean, Karen?
To me, self-determined means that they choose what they want in their life. Instead of the traditional way in our culture, from past times and in many other cultures on this earth, the traditional way is that the child goes in the direction the parents guide them. But self-determined means that they go in the direction they feel inwardly guided to go in. It's been my experience that especially the younger the children are, the more inwardly guided they are. And until they're around 2, they are totally inwardly guided. After 2, they can start, not during 2, that's a special time, and they're still strongly inwardly guided. After 2, they can start doing what other people say, whether it goes with their guidance or not. There's some freedom of choice there. Younger children, they don't have a choice. They have to go. Like you've seen, I'm sure anybody that's had babies has seen a baby start to go after something, and then if you just move them to something else, at some point they might still try to go after that same thing they were going after. Anyway,
That's how we should think of business.
What?
We could think of business like that.
Yeah, really. Yeah, good attitude. Right.
Well, I was also wondering too, how did you get into this work, in this line of work? Because you're a coach, you're an author, a speaker, and how long have you been doing this work?
Oh, okay. Well, I studied Montessori training in India in 1970. Then in 1973, we came back and started a Montessori school, and also I started having children. We got married over in India. Anyway, so I was working, of course, with my own children and working in the Montessori school, and I felt that I had learned things that I didn't see other people practicing. I'm kind of wondering, like, there have been so many starts, you know, like when this started. But in terms of the first thing I did in terms of this particular focus, yeah, okay, it was near, let's see, it was maybe 1989. And I had been invited to go to India and help set up some educational centers. There was a community service organization, and they had like 100 different sites. And they had come and they'd seen Children's House, which is the name of the Montessori school we have, or it's still going, but I'm not there. And they wanted those concepts to be created for them over there. And I really wanted to do this. But at one point, when I was thinking about it, I thought, well, before I can go, I really need to share with everybody here what I thought I learned that was different from what I saw practiced by the other parents. And actually, one parent did ask me if I would write down my approach to things because she wanted to understand it. So anyway, I just started writing. I was just gonna like write a report, let's say, and it turned into this book, and it turned into a mission at that point to do the best I could to make sure that all children grew up with the adults having this information so that everybody could get along together. So I guess that's kind of one of the really big starting points for what I'm doing.
And you're also a mother.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
3.
Awesome. And when did you begin using your own tools within your life with your children?
Right. Good point. Well, okay. When my first daughter was born, I think I used them pretty much with her until until my son was born, when she was about 3. And she went through, her 2-year-old was like bliss. She got along with everybody. It was smooth. There were no stress. Then my son was born, and I didn't know how I could possibly give such devoted attention to 2 children. It was like, how can this happen? I didn't know. See, there were things I didn't know for them. Like now, yeah, I could manage because I would include her in ways that I was reluctant because when we, as my understanding and my experience is, when we get in stressful kind of situations, like that was a stressful situation for me, we revert back to what we knew. And what I knew didn't include what I know now about how to help bring in a new child into the family and how everybody can be involved. So it doesn't just have to be me. And she would have loved it to be able to care for her brother the way that I would encourage it now. But anyway, so there was a period until my youngest daughter was about 2, and there were lots of family things going on between myself and my husband. And so I was trying to parent the way he would like me to parent, which was not a good idea. But anyway, but who knows? Because it got me to here, right?
Right.
And it got my children. Okay, so around that time, I remember I was in the kitchen and I was yelling at them, trying to get them to whatever. And I suddenly saw myself and I went, whoa, this is not who I want to be. I've never wanted to be this since I thought about having kids, which I never did too much before I had them. And so I apologized to them. I told them I would never do this again. I was really, really sorry. And is there anything I could do to help them feel better? And my youngest daughter wanted to go out in the car. And my oldest daughter thought of going to visit these people we used to be friends with. And, but we hadn't hung out with them for a long time. So we all went and did that and had a great time. And that was it. I never went back to that again. I always made sure that they felt good about how things went. That was my bottom line as far as I was concerned.
Nice.
That had to happen.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I can relate to that. I feel like that's just kind of where I got with Bella, just to a point like, oh my gosh, like this is not who I am or how I want to be as a mother, raising her, and I knowing that I'm that role model in how she will behave in life as an adult. And so and that, is the first 4 years of her life where she experienced me, being short with her or irritable or frustrated and snappy, just straight up a jerk. It wasn't like every single day of her life, but it just, those moments would show up, especially when, because I'm a focused, driven person. And so in my mind, I wanted to, if I can hurry up and just get this done and stay focused, I can get done quicker, then I can. And that seemed to be when the most time that she wanted my attention the most. And then, of course, I do interviews for my podcast and for, my online summits. So it was like, I've got to figure this out, so that she feels good. It wasn't here. Honestly, in the beginning, it was about finding relief for myself. But as we began to work together, I realized, no, this is really about her. And it just like shifted from being selfish to this is about her. So that's when it was for me too. I mean, I've always wanted to be a great mom. I think every mom wants to be a great mom, or every teacher wants to be their best teacher. And so, or every grandma or grandpa wants to be the best grandparents and do the best job they can. But what I realized in our coaching session the other day was, like, for me, I just don't have that knowledge to create that skill set and who I'm being in the relationship. And so that was huge for me on our last coaching session, was just acknowledging, like, first off, there is no right or wrong way. And then secondly, like, it's just it's a skill, and it's something to practice daily. And each day that I'm practicing, that shift just keeps happening in the relationship with her. And it's been just more harmonious. And I love the word that you use, because it's true. It really is more harmonious. I look for flow and ease in business, and before that was not like that. The only way I knew flow and ease was by developing that skill. Same thing with Bella. Same thing in my relationship with Buck. I'm the one that gets to create from nothing, from a space of like, this is who I'm going to be in this relationship. And when you're not that way of being, the good, positive, excited feeling or whatever, peaceful, whatever it is you choose, I feel like that's when the icky stuff just starts to show up more and more until you deal with it. So having those tools in place that I get to practice has been so harmonious. It's, yeah, definitely been awesome. So the next question is, what is children's work?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, it's okay. The children's work, and it's like big work. They are creating themselves. They are creating the person that they are becoming, and eventually will be an adult and act in the world, and that's their work. And I feel like it's such an important thing that it's very worthy of respect. It's very worthy of awareness and being treated well, to help them create the best them that they can. And the more we have a mindset of wanting to help them be the best them they can be, I think their results will be better too.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, people I work with anyway, it's about being the best version of yourself. I know that's what I want to be on my deathbed, knowing is that I was the best version, my highest version of, and most creative version of myself when I die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can see where the kids, I mean, they're just so, if you really pay attention to them, that is exactly what they're doing. They're just creating all the time. And they have no
Right.
fears, or, of course, unless that stuff's instilled in them, but they just do it. It's like natural for them.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
What about the parents? What do you mean by, when you're talking about the parents, what would that mean for them? Adults first.
Oh, okay. I have heard it in my work as a teacher. And I've heard very commonly adults say, you better respect me. You're being disrespectful.
Yeah.
Okay. Since respect was like the focus that I came up with until this one rule thing happened, adults first means that the adults are the models. So if you want your child to be respectful to them. Adults, be respectful first. Show how it's done. Show how it feels when someone is respectful to you. Then they'll pick it up. They'll pick it up. You won't even necessarily have to say anything about it. If you're just that way, they'll pick it up, and they will be that way. From my experience, they will be that way with each other, in the kids in the family, with their friends, with their friends' parents, with their teachers, with everybody. It fills them up with that kind of way of being, and it gets spread out everywhere. And that's been what I've seen with my children. And also, when I modeled respect to the kids that I worked with, eventually, maybe right away, it depends on the child, but that's what I would get back.
Yeah.
And so we built a respectful relationship by me doing it first.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that makes total sense to me. I believe a lot of parents haven't done that. I mean, they just don't know. You know, I think this is,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're finally in an era where people are really starting to get that. You know, that they've been unparenting, or not unparenting, that they've been parenting at an unconscious level. That's what I wanted to say.
Right.
And you're starting to see where that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I'm just letting that crawler go across the screen there. That way, for people that are watching the replay later, that they won't miss out on some of the stuff that you're talking about. Is a good way to just kind of engrave that into the brain. And of course, Bella's calling my name. So I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about this next question, and I'm going to jump up and go see what she needs, and while you talk about this. And the question is, what is the one rule, and how did you discover it, the book that you've written?
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, go ahead and just talk. I'll be right back.
Okay. The one rule came to me because I was asking, I had just created a program called Harmonizing with Kids. And then I asked myself, is there anything, what is the least that people need to know in order to create a harmonious relationship with children? And out of this came this concept, the one rule, that there is one rule, because I was thinking that it came about because I was also thinking of the 108 tools, skills, and strategies, which I have used over the years. They're written into all of my things, trainings and books and stuff. And I one time sat down and I wanted to write out, okay, well, what skills, what tools, what strategies have I developed? And so I was thinking of 108. That's a lot for people to have to digest. And so that's why I was wondering, what is the least that if people got this and they did this, they would end up with harmonious relationships with their kids. And that's where it came out. The one rule, that there really is one rule. If you follow this rule, it will automatically pull up these kinds of tools, skills, and strategies that I've developed. It will automatically pull them up out of you. You don't have to learn them. You don't have to study them. I mean, they're helpful, but if you follow the one rule, and here's the one rule: agreement. Agreement. You agree with how things go, and your child agrees with how things go. In a situation where you're just you and your child. Otherwise, whoever's involved agrees with how
Yeah.
things go. And if that is, I mean, okay, I remember doing this with 3-year-old children. I told them, okay, you're each important. They both, let's say the first time I did this, it was 2 kids wanted to swing on the same swing. There were other swings, but they were being used. There was one open swing. And instead of, anyway, so I went up to them. I said, oh my goodness, seems like you're having a problem. Let's figure this out so you both feel good. So before I got into it with them, yeah, I said, okay, now you're both important. You're important. And that child, yeah, I'm important. And you're important. And that child agreed. And it was like I could see in the other child, oh, yeah, they're important too. And it was like a mind expanding for them to realize, oh, yeah, we're both important. And I said, and you both deserve to have a good time. So let's figure this out. How can we do this so that you you both get to have a good time? And once that shift was made, once they acknowledged that they were both important, they were each important, and they were both important, like within a moment, like probably less than a minute, maybe,
Yeah.
one of the children figured out that they could both sit on the swing. Because I was thinking, take turns, get out a timer, and, traditional kind of teacher things. But this one child said, well, they could sit, one could sit and the other could sit facing them on their lap. So they'd be facing different directions. And I pushed them, not high, so nobody would fall off, but they held on, and I made sure that they held on because, and it worked out great.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it works. It's like for other children, maybe a different solution would have worked, like one of them could have had the swing and the other I would read a story, or it depends. The thing I like most about this one rule is that if you keep this, then what you are doing is, and the adult is kind of like adults first, right? The adult is the guardian of the one rule. Okay, well, we have to find what works, and sometimes you might not find it right that moment, but then that thing doesn't happen right that moment until you find the agreement.
Yeah.
Anyway, that put me on a different sidetrack.
Well, no, you're
So
really great because you kind of led from, what is the one rule and how did you discover it, also into like how can the one rule help help me or help other parents and stuff like that. So you really gave a really good visual of like what that looks like. So how is this different from no punishment versus the one rule? Like, what's the big difference? Because there's a lot of people that believe in spanking and they're yellers. I used to be a yeller. Spanking was not my thing. But what about the no punishment part? How does this fit in with the one rule?
well, I don't think most children would agree to punishment, right? I don't think so. Oh, but originally the concept of no punishment, because well, I didn't punish my children, and they turned out perfectly awesome human beings.
When you say no punishment, what do you mean by no punishment?
That means no punishment.
Like what?
That means no
Punish?
no timeout,
That's
nothing. You don't do anything to deliberately cause suffering for your child.
oh, I love that. A fear-based
And
control.
the thing is, you
Yeah,
don't
like a
have to. You
domination.
don't have to.
Right.
With the one rule or everything else I teach, you don't have to.
Wow.
You don't
Isn't
have
that
to. You
amazing?
still can have things go in a way that feels good for you. In fact, I think you're going to have things go in ways that feel better for you
Mm-hmm.
than you ever imagined.
Yeah.
But you're going to have things go good for you, and they are going to have things go good for them.
Yeah.
And that's been my experience. You don't have to make them feel bad.
And how many years have
So
you been doing this?
about 48.
So you have 48 years where you've seen this work that you do, that you teach people, apply it into their lives, and where they are living harmoniously with their children, and the children are happy and without punishment, without putting them in the corner, without spanking, without yelling, instilling fear. And it's just all, I just got huge goosebumps. I mean, can you imagine a world without that?
Yes, that's what. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. That's why I had to get you as a speaker in the group. So,
cool.
was there anything else that
I have,
you'd like
yes,
to
there
say?
is.
Okay.
Yes, there is. One of, one of the big things about this whole approach, and it will happen if you use the one rule. But one of the big things I learned a lot of years ago. I got a letter from someone who had purchased my original book, which is Parenting for the New Millennium. And she purchased a copy for her mom. And her mom lived back east. And she sent her a copy. Now, her older sister still lived at home with her mom. And she sent me this letter thanking me for writing this and letting me know that she bought the book so she would give the kind of care to her 2-year-old that she wanted to give. But she wanted to let me know that thanks to her mother reading the book and using what she learned from it with her younger sister, who was still at home, her younger sister was able to stop going to therapy because she finally felt loved. And when I
Wow.
read that, I realized that that was one of the really strong benefits of this,
Wow.
that it creates a relationship where the kids feel loved. They
Yeah.
feel loved. When you punish them, they don't feel loved, and you are not being loving. We are not
Right.
being loving if we punish.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't mean we don't love them. Of course we love them, but we are not behaving in a loving manner at that point. Your heart is not open at that point. And so they don't feel loved because at that point they aren't, even though we love them.
Mhm.
So, and I learned that from that letter. That was
Wow. That's
really,
beautiful.
and so
Yeah.
that's one of my goals, is that all children get to feel loved by the adults in their life.
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
So,
What? Yeah. Well, I also want to one more time get the name of your Facebook group in case anybody would like to, and you could just share a little bit about what do you do in your group, and what are some of the things that you're up to.
okay. Um, I was trying to think of the name, right? And I was thinking, oh, well, I'll just put Raising Happy Kids. But when I wrote it out and I finalized it, it was Rising Happy Kids Group. And it was like, I tried fixing it, but I couldn't. And I finally said, maybe that's good. So that there are going to be more and more happy kids. So anyway, so it's
Awesome.
Rising Kids. And there's there's going to be a freebie, the first chapter of this book, a challenge. I'm working on a challenge to actually give you a chance to use the one rule to get some practice in on it. I have a couple of stories. One, I was trying to and there I haven't been able to get my Facebook Live going, so I did them on Zoom. So I post them up there. I would like to get my Facebook Live going so I can do them live, but at the moment they're posted. And so the telling the story didn't work out too well. I have to, as I get more practice, I'm sure I can do that. But for now, I'm going to read little stories about the use, how a situation gets resolved using the one rule. And there will be some tips that I'll put out also.
Okay, awesome.
And
So
people
this is,
can interact with me there.
yeah, okay,
So,
that's awesome. Well, Mary joined us and she said, "Hi, ladies, I'm out tonight, but wanted to say hello." Thank you for Mary. I hope you're having a great time.
yeah.
And okay, that's not okay. I'm being beckoned by my daughter, so I'm going to have to end the show. But if you'd like
Yeah.
to learn more about Karen and connect with her, I posted the group information along with her website. You can watch that on the replay, and it'll also be in the comments. All right. So if you guys have a wonderful evening tonight, and thank you for being here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no problem. I can.
Okay, good. Because I pushed the mute button and I don't know if it's on or off. So I'll have to play with that later. All right. Thanks, Karen. Have a great evening.
My pleasure.
Namaste.
Yes. Namaste.